Well, hey guys, Michael and Dano here, back for another Bucks Island on tour. This week, Dano got to stay home,
Yeah, I did.
but we managed to, head over to the East Coast.
James River in Virginia.
Yeah, a little change of pace from around here. Seeing tournaments starting to turn north now. Now that we're in the 140 bajillion degree temperatures in the south.
In the oven.
So if you weren't jealous of the guys that get to go fish for a living already, now they're getting to go fish up north in cooler weather. So I don't know.
I saw a post today from Daryl Gleason and his wife, Elite Series. They're already up there in New York. She said it was 59 this morning when they got up, and the high is going to be like 72. So.
Man, I hope he gets some hate comments on that post.
All I know is that I'll be there on the way by the 10th, and you guys can feel really sorry for me.
All right. So all seriousness aside, what happened this past weekend, and tell us about the little interview that you got to have.
Well, when you see this interview, you're going to think deja vu all over again, because Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, the MLF Big Five, they had a tournament on the James River there in Richmond, Virginia area. And the deja vu part comes in is our last Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit tournament at Guntersville. We got to interview Nick LeBrun. And Nick won this tournament as well. Came back on the final day and grabbed his second trophy in as many tournaments. And that's a really big deal. Very versatile angler from Bossier City, Louisiana. You spend the time, and I talked to him about this a little bit. You'd think a guy just focuses on shallow water, but if you're living in that area, you're going to fish Rayburn and Toledo Bend, and you're going to fish some of those others along with your Atchafalaya Basin and other those kind of deals. So, he wins one offshore at Guntersville, does this one shallow, and we got to talk to him about some of that kind of stuff. It's kind of a cool interview.
Yeah. So it's good. It's great when we get to do these remote. It would give us a little more time to dive into more detail. So I hope you guys get a little something out of this. Pretty interesting, and certainly very cool to see a back-to-back win.
Well, here we are, folks. This is turning into kind of a repeat. No, you're not seeing a rerun. You're seeing a repeat because Nick LeBrun has just won his second back-to-back MLF Big Five Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit event, this time on the James River in Richmond, Virginia. Nick, first of all, congratulations, man. You've had a good year in 2 weeks, and that's it takes people a long time to be able to win one tournament in many of these careers that get started, and here you are, 2 tournaments in the same year. First of all, did you expect that when you started the week?
Well, no, I didn't. Thank y'all so much for the congratulations and the encouragement. And, it wasn't until day 3 when I pulled up on my spot and I caught 2 good ones on one cast that I thought, I may have a chance at winning this deal. So I'd never been to James, and I knew it had a lot of cypress trees. So I told my wife I just wanted to survive the James River, and I mean, just, all glory to God, because he's just been blessing me, and it's been an awesome ride.
Well, as they say, sometimes when people are open and share their faith, that God's going to reward that. I find it a little funny that you weren't comfortable with the cypress trees, being that you're a Louisiana boy.
Well, yeah, I actually was. When I saw all the cypress trees on the map, I kind of thought, well, it'll be all right. The cypress trees were a good thing, no doubt.
So, it shows your versatility. A lot of people think you come from someplace like you come from down there in Bossier City, and you're only going to be a shallow water guy. Of course, you're comfortable there. You win Guntersville using an offshore type stuff, mixing it up a little bit, able to catch some in your deep water. Now here you are on a river system that is known for just being shallow. It fits into your strengths. How did you pull this thing together? What were your patterns, and how did you pull it together?
Well, when it comes to the versatility aspect, I just got to give a big shout out to the group of anglers that fishes Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend, you know, fishing BFLs and team tournaments down there for so many years. You know, those guys like Albert Collins and Todd Castledine and, you know, Clayton Bolware and all those kind of names, those guys will make you be versatile.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where, yes, I do like to fish shallow, but I learned to fish deep, you know, down there at Rayburn with those guys, fishing against them. But when it comes to James River, you know, I found a little section of the Chickahominy, about a half-mile section that I just kind of chose to live in for the tournament. And, you know, it basically consisted of fishing docks and cypress trees. And I was doing a few different things with that. I was fishing a V&M chopstick, the 5-inch and June bug, wacky worming that with a little Hayabusa wacky floor guard hooked, 8-pound sunline fluorocarbon. And then I also had a few different crankbaits that I was throwing, deflecting off of the cypress trees. And so, you know, I caught a 3-pounder on a buzz bait on day one. I caught a 4-pounder on a bladed jig on day 4. And so I had a few different things going on. But the main thing was just the section of the river and the just being dialed in on where to throw. You know, because when that tide got to moving and those current seams got strong, those fish would bite if you were in the right place at the right time.
I spent most of my life in Northern California, and especially my fishing life in Northern California. So fishing the California Delta is something that I'm very familiar with. We see tides from 5-6 feet up one side to down 5-6 feet up. I know that some of those tides over on that side of the country aren't that big, but they're as dramatic when the results are.
Right.
How much of a window did you have when that tide switched?
Well, when you're from North Louisiana, a 2-inch swing is a lot.
Yes, it is.
And so at James River, you know, we were seeing about a 3 to 3.5 foot swing. And, you know, on day one, I ran down to Grays Creek first. That's way down toward the ocean. And I caught that low tide first at like 8:30. And it seemed to me like the fish were biting the best on like the last 30 minutes of outgoing tide and then the first 30 minutes of incoming. And, you know, so you had probably about an hour and a half, and part of that was dead low, and they may not position, you know, in the middle of that. But, you know, I would do most of my damage in about an hour, you know, and on the final day it showed because when I ran down the Chick 45 minutes later, we had a high tide that was just starting to turn and go outgoing. And I caught them within an hour. You know, I had a 5 and a 4 and some other keepers. And then caught one more 4-pounder about 10 o'clock off a cypress tree. But even those cypress trees, you got to fish them while there's still water on them. Because if a fish is wanting to be on a tree, he's not going to be on that tree if it's only 6 inches deep, you know. So it was a stressful tournament because you're constantly just going over in your head, making decisions about the tide, about when you need to run back, about what area to be at what time. And luckily it paid off, praise the Lord.
So how far was the run for you from the Chickahominy?
From Osborne Landing to the section of Chick that I was fishing was probably about 55 miles. And, you know, and I would kind of stop off at a few places here or there. And like I said, on day one, I ran to Grays first. But I probably ran my Skeeter Yamaha about 450 miles in the tournament. So.
Talking about tidal fishing, I always liked that low switch because when the water was low and that tide starts to come in and all the grass starts to lift, it seems like it pulls all the bait and all the food sources kind of out, and that's when the fish kind of respond. Did you see a big response then, or did you have the switch from high to low? What was your better bite there?
You know, every day was different. You know, like after practice, if you'd have told me that, hey, you got to pick one tide to fish and that's it, I probably would have picked the last little bit of outgoing and low tide. Now, more in the tournament, as the tournament went on, days 3 and 4, I caught them more on high tide outgoing. So who knows? I mean, right when you think you got it figured out, I mean, it changes.
That's kind of what I
but
always
all,
joke. After all these years that I've been writing all this stuff with people like yourself, the older guys, the younger guys, I've helped write the book on bass fishing, but I don't think the bass read it. So
no, yeah, it's like on James River, you might as well wake up that morning and throw darts at a map based on the tide because it was different in practice and it changed in the tournament. And all I knew is where some fish were, and I tried to hit that spot as many different times throughout the day as I could. So, like my main area where that dock and the cypress tree were, I mean, I would hit that on the final day. I hit it probably 5 different times because I kept thinking, when is it going to go down? But lo and behold, it went down early, and that was about all that it did.
well, I don't know if you're familiar with, older bass fishing history, but there's a gentleman out in California named Robert Lee that won 4 Bassmaster tournaments on the California Delta. The only guy to ever have done that to win 4 tournaments. And his philosophy was, instead of chasing tides, was pick an area and figure out where the fish go in all of them. It sounds like that's what you did at the James River.
Yeah, and that's what I did at Potomac last year. I made the top 50 cut there, and I just camped out in Quantico Creek, and I just parked on this flat, and I would just kind of zigzag through there all day, and I'd have these little small bite windows where I could catch 2 or 3 and wait later on and catch 2 or 3 more. And so that was kind of my same strategy. It was just more of a section of the river in the Chickahominy.
Well, $200,000 in 2 tournaments. What's your wife wanting to do in the house?
Well, we bought this house in October, so we've done a lot already.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're probably going to do a few little things that we really didn't want to do. But now that we got a tad bit extra money, we'll probably go ahead and twist our arm and do it. But, I mean, it's just been a great year. I mean, the financial part's important because, with gas being as high as it is, and entry fees they're not getting any cheaper. It's nice to kind of make about 2 years of income in a month. So it definitely kind of relieves the stress, and just again, just got to give all glory to God for blessing me. And I mean, he's got all the money, and so when he decides to share some of it, that's awesome.
Well, as always, Nick, thanks for spending the time with us. We appreciate it here at Bucks Island. We're a Skeeter Yamaha dealer, so we're in your corner, and we're happy to see you wearing those flags. Even if you weren't, we're proud of you, and congratulations.
Thank y'all very much, and thanks for having me.
I guess he managed to survive the James River.
Yeah.
So
what's to survive?
Yeah. So what's as always, what's the takeaway? How can that help us here in our region, Alabama?
Well, I know that we only deal with tides when we get down to the Mobile Delta for the most part. If you're going to go to the Tenn-Tom and some of those, you may have areas that you deal with that. What I would say is to view a tide as similar to what we get in current when we deal with the Coosa River, when we deal with the Tennessee River, any of those lakes. When they're going to start turning on the generation, with the tide tables, you can see when it's coming with our generation schedules, Alabama Power, Tennessee River, Tennessee Valley Authority, some of those. You can kind of time that. You want to be on your best stuff. You want to be ready. You want to have what's there. You want to give yourself options. You don't want to be running when the current starts. On a tidal river, it's moon phase. Tidal fishery, it's moon phase. On a generated river, it's going to be based on the power generation. And you just want to be on your best stuff. You want to not be behind the wheel of the boat when that stuff's going on. And I think that's the best takeaway. And also to give yourself options. Any tournament angler wants to have that moment where they look down on the front deck of the boat and there's 3 rods up there because you're dialed in, all those things. It is super rare. If you're going to be trying to take advantage of any kind of thing, have something ready that when you have that hunch, you can pick it up and you can make that cast. I know in my fishing time, I wouldn't call it a career, but in my time fishing, being able to make those presentations when I wanted to has netted me fish during tournaments. And having that thought with years and years of experience, it's probably an educated guess.
All right. Well, so hopefully that helps, guys. As always, which I mean, he talked about a lot of different tackle options as you were just discussing. So we'll get all those together in a nice collection on our website. So if you're watching this on our website, just check them out below. Otherwise, click the link and go. Hopefully that makes it a little easier to find some of this stuff. Last, I'll say, gotta say it's always fun to see a Skeeter Pro
Absolutely.
pull one out, and especially when the boat was a pretty integral part of the whole strategy. So,
Yeah,
what did you say, 450 miles or something like
in
that
4 days?
in
Yeah,
4 days.
ran a lot.
So that's a lot of running.
It is.
And so, well, anything else to add?
No, just looking forward to the Northern Swing. Going to see a whole different style of fishing up there. Champlain for the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit will be next. We'll have the St. Lawrence River smallmouth. Going to be big, giant smallmouth up there. That's going to be fun. We'll try to get those winners all the way across the whole Northern Swing of all these tournaments. So,
well, maybe that'll help us catch a few more smallmouth on the Coosa.
no smallmouth in the Coosa.
I know.
Spotted bass. There are smallmouth on the Tennessee River.
Well, all right, guys. So that's it for this episode. Again, hope you got something out of it. And, well, I guess we'll catch you in the next one. So stay cool, stay hydrated, and stay safe. And catch a few big ones. See you guys.